We've been talking a lot about makeovers today. Eddie Van Adler and life-changing haircut today. Bubba just talked about a study about people's shoes and why they wear the shoes they wear.
Shoes, and
what does it say about their personality? And a topic that I think we all enjoy and are somewhat. It's almost like the why we always strain to see some sort of accident. And that's the celebrity cosmetic surgeries gone bad. And there's so many of them. And we've invited one of our neighbors here at the Rick and Bubba Broadcast Plaza and Teleport. Just up the staircase, you'll find Petro Cosmetic Surgery. And Dr. Petro's here with us today. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You know what? You, of course, are an expert in the field and do outstanding work. And, we talked about it before and about how this is something that, mainly usually involves women, but more and more you see men getting involved in this. And I know one of the things that when we met you that I thought was a great point, you being a woman, kind of have a connection to women and can kind of understand their emotions, their thought process, what looks good, what doesn't. How many of these that we see from the female standpoint do you think one of the problems is it might have been a man that didn't really were like, okay, whatever you want to do. I mean, I just don't understand how not only would the client do some of this, why would the doctor continue it or allow it?
Well, that's really hard to say. I don't think anybody knows. I mean, you don't even have to go to Hollywood to see bad results.
Right.
I mean, we have them, unfortunately, everywhere.
Right.
And it's what scares a lot of people. I think people listen to what people want, and then people just have different aesthetic goals. I mean, people think different things are pretty. To me, if I don't think something is going to look good, I'm not going to do it. There are people that come in that are what we call kind of junkies that have been to multiple surgeons
right.
and they've had all these procedures done, and I've had them come and ask me for things, and it's just not something, if I don't agree with it and I don't think it's going to look the way I want it to look, I won't do it. But not everybody's like that. I mean, I think a lot of people just do what people want, and maybe some of these people wanted this, maybe they didn't. Some people don't really like a natural look. Some people want to look unnatural. But the majority of people, and the majority of people I see, want to look like themselves just the way they looked 5 or 10 years ago. No one wants to look like somebody else. It's a very abnormal to find someone that comes in and says, I want to look like somebody else. And if they say that, that's not someone to operate on.
Red flag. And
it is.
And some of them, I guess, are just botched. They weren't, there was no intent.
I mean, surely the doctor didn't intend for it to look that way, right? I mean,
some of them, sure.
We don't have to go any further than I think number 9 on the list here to go, my goodness. I mean, when you make yourself unrecognizable, that's a problem.
Especially a celebrity. You take this Kenny Rogers one, which has been pretty famous, and you look at Kenny Rogers, and you talk about somebody who had a unique look. You know, he had that silver fox look. Everybody,
he was older, but he was
so well known.
Yeah, respected.
And then he has this plastic surgery. And he doesn't even look like Kenny Rogers. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. So what? Just looking at that picture, what went bad here?
Well, the most obvious thing is his brows, and his brows are way too high, and that just gives him this chronic look of surprise.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And I'm sure he is surprised when he looks in the mirror. His eyes look very unnatural, and they change the shape of them. And the goal, especially with men don't want high brows. Some women do, usually not anymore. I mean, we can get a great lift to a brow with Botox even. So that type of lift is just very unnatural, whether it's on a man or a woman.
Yeah, I didn't mean to jump ahead on the list, but that's the one that, I mean, when I first saw him after that, you remember I called, I said, somebody's impersonating Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, and
it must stop.
And it's already uncomfortable enough if you're somebody that you just kind of want your friends and family not to be uncomfortable. But when you have branded yourself and you're a public figure and and then you change your look, I mean, it can affect your livelihood. You remember it's not on the list here because it didn't turn out bad, but Jennifer Grey,
was she not on this list?
Yeah, because it didn't look bad, but she doesn't look like the same actress.
It totally changed her.
Yeah,
totally.
And it's not so much that when you're looking in a book and you see where the brow position should be or how an eyelid should be. It's not really that way. I mean, there are a lot of actresses, Nicole Kidman being one of them, whose forehead is a lot bigger than most people would say is an ideal based on measurements. But things look different on different people. and people look different than the book. So it's really a matter of looking at somebody and deciding how you think that they would look rejuvenated but still like the same person. I can't imagine Kenny Rogers is very happy with that, but there's not much to do once it's gone. It's easy to take more out, but you can't put it back.
Well, he always kind of had that squinting look like you see, and now his eyes are open. They even look like they're a different color eye. I mean, is that really Kenny Rogers? Seriously.
I mean,
somebody pulling a gambler on us here? What's up?
Well, they did the 10, and again, this list is a little dated because I haven't come out with a new one in the last 3 years. But Mickey Rourke was number 10, and they said that a lot of his came from the fact that he was a boxer. He did this little thing for. Remember, he didn't want to be an actor anymore.
Yeah, he was a heartthrob at one time.
Yeah.
I mean, he was considered one of the top leading men. But I would think boxing would rearrange your face.
Right, and he had his nose broke, but it should not have led to this completely different look.
The most obvious thing about him is the way his pull. I mean, he's pulled. That's called a windblown look. Like when somebody just pulls your face.
Yeah.
That's not the vector. That's not how we like to pull things to make them look naturally. It's more a matter of lifting it back to where it was. And when you do that, generally there's no tension on the skin, so it never would look windblown. That's a straight back type cockpit of an airplane look that nobody wants.
How does that even happen?
He tried to do something with his chin, and he messed his mouth up.
Oh.
It's the pull. It's the skin's pulled straight back, and there are people that do things like that. But
and it does make them look plastic.
Are you familiar with number 8 here, Vivica Fox?
I'm out of the league.
This is, I'm afraid this is going to be an augmentation gone bad. You got to be careful with some of these, but
easy with those pictures.
Right, yeah, and you do see this with women who are, trying to, whatever their goal may be, it goes south. More is not always better.
It's not, and the goal of all of this is to enhance someone's beauty. I mean, everyone has pretty features. Everyone has features that they're really comfortable with and happy with. And usually what happens is time, and they want it back the way it was. As far as breasts, my goal in doing a breast augmentation is for someone to come to me and say, my coworkers think I look thinner. Because when your breasts are a little bit bigger, everything's more in proportion and you look thinner. You never want someone to say, I got told I had a facelift, or somebody asked me if I had my breasts done. I don't. I want them to say, look more proportioned, more like maybe they look before children or before breastfeeding, just more back in proportion, because clothes weren't made for people with big breasts. I mean, you can't wear jackets, you can't wear dresses. You look fat, really. Your breasts get too big.
What is the deal, too, with this, like you said, this obsession? There's people that almost get addicted to cosmetic surgery. You see a lot of these celebrities that just go
back and
crazy
back
with it. Is it just, do they become delusioned about how they look?
Well, I think it's I think they're unhappy people. There's something wrong. And it's really our responsibility as surgeons to stop it. To not participate in it. But some people do, unfortunately. And I think that there's body dysmorphic disorder, which is where you look in the mirror and you see something else. And I think a lot of people, would have that, and we've just given them an avenue to express it. So I think that's why we're seeing more and more of it.
Now, who is Tara Reid? I'm out of the loop on her too.
I don't know who that is. That is number 7, and I'm not sure what all went bad here. This is that lip thing that goes bad, where people do the lip lipo and. Is it collagen that they were using at one time? Or
we use fat. We can do fat grafting in the lip or Juvederm. A lot of people are scared to have their lips done. Meg Ryan is another example of someone that, a beautiful woman that's her lips have gotten
it's too much,
too intense, and it scares people. Most people want their lips done because they don't want so much of their tooth or their gum to show when they smile, or because your bottom lip's supposed to be a little bit bigger than your upper lip, and sometimes it's not. Over time, you actually atrophy your upper lip, and so most people want it back the way it was, and it's a sign of youth to have a full upper lip, but never as full as a lot of these. I just don't like big lips, but
yeah, those pictures we saw there,
not that big.
I didn't see that one looking bad.
Yeah, that wasn't no. But I forget what.
I don't think that's the right picture.
Yeah. Like you said, Meg Ryan. I noticed that the last time you saw her, but I think to me you got to draw the line. If your lips are starting to look like those plastic lips we used to get as a kid.
Yeah, you get at the convenience store.
Yeah, and then you chew the wax or whatever. If it looks that way.
Goldie Hawn did a little too much.
Oh, yeah, boy, she got.
You start looking like Madam.
Well, to me, it looks sad.
It does.
It looks sad when a person, especially if it's an age issue. I completely understand injuries and things like that. I mean, it's incredible the things that can be done now through things that have happened through injuries or whatever. But when you're getting older, I think there's a way to age with dignity
and with grace,
with grace, without looking like you tried to go back and turn yourself into a 22-year-old again.
And
I mean, that looks a little silly.
And the majority of people don't want that. The majority of people, especially with lips, as you get older, you start developing lines, and they look like they're smokers, and they're not smokers. So we can fill those lines in. Or they put lipstick on, and the lipstick runs up the lines and ends up, so it's not fun to wear lipstick. And all girls like makeup and lipstick. So usually it's
and shoes.
Yeah, and shoes. We love shoes. Uncomfortable shoes.
The more uncomfortable, the better.
The better.
Yeah. We'll come back. If you have any questions, too, 866-WE-BE-BIG. Dr. Petro will be with us for one more segment. You can find out more about, Petro Cosmetic Surgery. We'll put the information there in show notes at rickandbubba.com. And her office, like I say, right up the stairs from us here at the Rick and Bubba Broadcast Plaza and Teleport. So she was kind enough to come in and speak to us about this from an expert point of view. Some others still on the list. You probably have some yourself. 866-WE-BE-BIG.